Hi everybody. It is not March 13th, but that's probably when you're going to be taking your test. It's still a couple weeks away, so it's possible that that might slightly change. Of course, not everyone has class that day. But either way, you're about to see the review sheet gone over for you. Start with number 1. We're talking about an arithmetic sequence. When you see a sequence, go to your reference sheet. The formulas are given to you. For arithmetic, a sub n equals a sub 1 plus n minus 1d. A little bit of a twist on this one. It's saying that the second term is 12 and the fourth term is 20. Well, first of all, I need d. Well, how much are you changing going from term to term? Well, if I subtract 20 and 12, that's 8. However, I went 2 terms from 2 to 4, so I'd have to take that 8 and cut it in half to get 4. So my d is 4. So that means my third term would be 4 more than 12, which is 16. I also need my first term. Well, if my common difference is 4, I would have to take 4 away and end up with 8. So now that I have my d is 4 and my first term is 8, I just substitute those values into the formula. A sub 1 is 8, and minus 1 is always a minus 1. D is 4. Distribute. Combine like terms. 4 and plus 4. 2. Tristan wants to attend the town carnival. Fantastic. Nothing mathematical so far. I'm going to take it one sentence at a time. Here's the end of my next sentence. The price of admission to the carnival is $5.50, and each ride costs an additional 89 cents. When I see each ride, I know this is going to be a per x plus the one-time fee, or each x plus the one-time fee. So the per or each ride is 89 cents. So the 0.89 goes in front of, instead of XR, the one-time amount is $5.50. Now he can spend, I'm up to the next sentence at this point. He can spend at most $18. So that means that the money he spends can be less than or equal to 18. So looking at my choices here, I know it can't be choice 1 or choice 2 because the R has to be with the 0.89. Now it wants me to determine the number of rides it can go on. We got to do some algebra. Well, I should probably go get my calculator. I get 0.89 R is less than or equal to 1250. Divide by 0.89. Divide by 0.89. R is less than or equal to 1250 divided by 0.89. Well, let's get my calculator up here. 1250 divided by 0.89 is 14.0449, etc. Let's just try 14.044. You cannot go on 0.044 of a ride. So what's the biggest number that's less than or equal to 14? 14. It's not a matter of rounding. You have to choose the biggest number that's less than or equal to whatever amount you get. Which of these is equivalent to? Well, based on the answers, I can tell this is completing the square. So, first step is to have only the variables on one side. Next step I know I have to add b over 2 squared to both sides. So b over 2 squared is negative 4 over 2 squared, which is negative 2 squared, which is 4. So I now factor and then I rewrite it as binomial squared. X minus 2 squared equals 7. Well, this has to do with transformation of functions. If there's a number in front, this is going to either make it wider or it's going to make it narrower. If this value, let's call it A, is less than 1, it gets wider. If it's greater than 1, it's narrower. So, being how this is bigger than 1, it's going to get narrower, so it can't be choice 1, and it can't be choice 4. The plus 3. The 3 is being added to the x, so this is making the graph move in the x direction. When you're in parentheses, it's always the opposite direction as you would think. So this plus 3 is saying left 3. That's what this is telling me. Now this minus 4 is being subtracted from the whole thing. If you're subtracting it from the whole thing, you're subtracting it from the y, which is making it go down 4. So, which one says left 3 and down 4? Choice 3. Refer to your rules. Subtracted from. From comes first. Keep, change, change. You need to know from comes first. Keep, change, change. So we keep the first one. We change subtraction to addition. We change everything in the second one. Positive 3 becomes negative 3. Minus 2 becomes plus 2. Plus 5 becomes minus 5. Combine like terms. 1 plus negative 3 is negative 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. Negative 1 plus negative 5 is negative 6. If you can't add, use a calculator. If you can't add, you don't want to use a calculator, it can't do anything for you. Choice 2 is the answer. Well, by looking at the choices, hopefully you understand that this is a factoring problem. We have our song for factoring. GCF, dots, trinomials, bridge, can you factor any further? Whenever you're factoring, you should have this written out. We have a song to help us. Is there a GCF? No. Dots? No. Trinomials? Yes. Bridge? No, because there's a 1 in front. Now, because we have different powers here, that's okay, as long as the first one is double the second one, which it is. So when I do my 2 sets of parentheses, whatever this is goes in front for each. From there, it's the same as a regular trinomial. First sign comes down, positive times a positive is a positive. What multiplies to 14 and adds to 9? 7 and 2. Can you factor any further? GCF, no. Dots, no. Trinomials, no. B squared plus 7, B squared plus 2, choice 4. Which expression results in a rational number? Well, in a radical, only perfect squares are rational. If it's not a perfect square, then it's irrational. And very important, when you're adding numbers, in order for the answer to be rational, they both have to be rational. So n plus p would be the only pair that's rational. When you're adding rational numbers, you get a rational answer. If you have an irrational number involved, even if only one of them is irrational, then the answer is irrational. Michelle found a bank account that's fantastic. It offers 3.7% interest compounded annually. 3.7% interest compounded annually. Investment. All these things should be telling you that this is a AP 1RT problem. Those are all clues. Now you have to know the actual formula. A equals P, 1 plus or minus R to the power of T. You have to know what each thing represents. A is final amount, P is principal or initial amount, R is rated as decimal, T is time. So, A is what we're trying to find. It does not specify the variable we want to use. Her initial investment is 100. It's interest. It's getting bigger. Now my R is 3.7%. To make that into a decimal, either move the decimal 2 places. However, many of you are making mistakes doing that, so you could also just go to your calculator, turn your calculator on, of course, and do 3.7 divided by 100 to get 0.037. To the power of T, in this case. Next, I want you to do what's in the parentheses. 1.037. You can use your calculator for that if you want. It's asking for a function to model it. It's not asking to solve anything, so that would be your answer. If it then gave you the years, you could replace the T with the years. Okay. An astronaut drops a rock off the edge of a cliff on the moon. Anything mathematical yet? No. The distance d of t in meters that the rock travels in 50 seconds can be modeled by the function. Okay, so I know that I have d of t equals 0.8 t squared. I know that distance is d of t. And I know that t is seconds. What is the average speed? Well, this problem's a little tricky because it says average speed. But what average speed is average rate of change. And we have a sum for average rate of change. It's just a formula, and the formula is f of b minus f of a over b minus a. Does it give me f of b and f of a? No. It gives me a and b. A is 6 and b is 8. But to find those, I have to substitute them in. 0.8, 6 squared, 0.8, 8 squared. Go to my calculator. 0.8, 6 squared, 0.8, 8 squared. So I have 28.8, 51.2. Now I substitute into my formula. F of b minus f of a, well, that's these values. That's going to be your 51.2 minus 28.8, b minus a, 8 minus 6. From here you can get your alpha y equals enter. I can't do that on my calculator, so I'm not as cool as you apparently, but I can still do it. 51.2 minus 28.8. And again, you could just put this whole thing at once using alpha y equals enter. Either way, you're going to get 11.2. So, the average speed we got 11.2 meters per second. Boom. Solve for m. It even tells you how to do it by factoring. Let's pretend it didn't say this. It's a little bit of a hint, but I know it's Mr. M squared. He wants to party. Can he party right now? No. 12's got to come over. I get 8m squared plus 20m minus 12 equals 0. Party time. What do they want to do with the party? Bubbles. Bubbles mathematically means factors. We wrote our list of factoring before. First thing we look for, we're factoring GCF. Is there a GCF? Yes. And if it's an equation, I can just divide the GCF away. The GCF is 4. So I get 2m squared plus 5m minus 3 equals 0. Can we factor any further? Well, GCF, no. Difference of 2 squares, no. Trinomials, yes. Bridge, yes. Because of the number in front. So I build my bridge, and I'm going to write PT so I don't forget to pay the toll. M squared plus 5m minus 6. Now we factor normally. First sign comes down. Positive times a negative is a negative. What multiplies to 6? Well, it's 1 and 6, 2 and 3, which subtracts to 5, 6, 1. In total, if I multiply by 2 at the beginning, I divide by 2 at the end. That gives me m plus 3 because that one divides nicely. If it does not divide nicely, I bring that in front. Set each factor equal to 0. In fact, let's just put it up here so we have a little bit more space. So I have m plus 3, and I have 2m minus 1. M plus 3 equals 0. 2m minus 1 equals 0. Solve each of them. M equals negative 3. And equals 1. Know your Mr. X squared story. Know how to factor. If a function is shown in the table below, fantastic. Remember, f of x is the same thing as y. If including the table which ordered pair 4, 1, or 1, 4 would result in a relation that is no longer a function. Well, if I put 4, 1 in here, is this a function? No, because x can't repeat. So 4, 1 would not make it a function because the x value would correspond to 2 different y values. If you just said it would make x repeat, that's fine. If I put 1, 4 in here, that does not cause any of the x values to repeat. The y values don't matter. The x values can't repeat. Correction is decided between 2 pool cleaning services. Fantastic. 1 sentence at a time. Anything mathematical in there? No. Here's my next sentence. Service A charges $400 each year. Again, something should be going off in your head when you hear each year. For x plus the 1 times b. So for service A, I'm going to call this A of x. Where's my per? 400 each year, $50 per visit. Now, a little bit of a twist on this one, because one says each and one says per. Which is the true per? If it's $400 per year, is that a one-time amount Or is that what's being paid each time something happens? No. The $50 per visit is the true per. Even though it says each year, that's a one-time fee each year. Service B charges $100 per visit. There's no one-time fee. It's just $100 per visit. Write a system of equations that represents how much money each company charges. Did it. How many visits would it take for the two companies to be equal? Well, equal means set them equal. Solve the equation. X equals B. You're going to be seeing this per x plus the one-time fee over and over and over. So start getting it right over and over and over. Given the function f of x equals negative x squared plus 6x plus 2, state whether the vertex represents a maximum or a minimum point. Well, you could look at it in the calculator. I'm not going to, because I know that if there's a negative in front, it's going to be upside down, which means it's going to have a maximum. So it's a maximum because the coefficient of x squared is negative. Now it says B, rewrite it in vertex form by completing the square. So by writing it. First of all, the completing the square only has to do with the variables. So I'm going to say ignore the 2 for now. Don't even worry about it. I don't want this negative in front, so I have to factor out a negative 1, which is going to make it x squared minus 6x. And I'm going to put plus 2 at the end. Now, just like we did before, I have to add the over 2 squared. However, because I'm on the same side of the equation, I don't add it twice. If I add it here, I have to subtract it here. Well, negative 6 over 2 squared is negative 3 squared, which is 9. But technically, I'm multiplying this 9 by that negative 1. So technically, this is negative 9, which means I'm going to have to add 9. So you got to be really careful when you factor this negative 1 out, because technically, this is negative 1 times positive 9, which is negative 9. So to make the negative 9 negate, I'd have to add 9. So, excuse me, this is going to be x minus 3, x minus 3, plus 11, f of x equals negative 1, x minus 3 squared, plus 11. It doesn't ask for the vertex, but if I want the vertex now, I negate what's in the parentheses for my x value, and then my y value, that's what's going to be. This would be my vertex. On the axis below, graph f of x equals absolute value of 2x. Let's get my calculator out. Again, my absolute value is a little bit different than yours. Not a big deal. Still press the same buttons. If you don't know what buttons to press at this point, well, I don't know. Here you go. Math. Num EDX. Again, yours looks different than mine. It's okay. 2 2x. Okay, yeah, I might want to go into y equals first. math, num, PDFs, 2x. Boom. Graph. I see what it's going to look like. I go to my table to plot my point. It's a V, so I want my mirror image. Where's my mirror image? There's my mirror image. From -3 to 3, and then 6, 6. So, -4, 2, 0, 2, 4, 6, -3, 2, 4, 6, -2, 4. I plot the rest of them. And I draw my arrows because there's no domain. So this is f of x equals absolute value of 2x. If g of x equals f of x plus 3, how is the graph of f of x translated to form the graph of g of x? Well, what's happening here? I'm adding 3 to the f of x. So it's going up 3. Here, in the second question, if h of x equals f of x minus 2, I'm subtracting 2 from the x. So this is the x direction. So remember, it's always the opposite as you would think. So if it's minus, then it goes right 2. And the last question, f of x equals, all right, we're going back to my calculator. Y equals, get rid of that. I have f of x is x squared minus 6x plus 5. And I have -2x plus 5. So I go to my table, I look for my mirror image. Come on. There we go. I'm going to write that down. So I'm from 0 to 6. And I have 5, 0, -3, -4. And the mirror image of that. And then I have 5, 3, 1, -1, -3, -5, 7. So my calculator, 0, 5, 1, 0, 2, -3, 3, -4. There's no domain, so I draw arrows. This is f of x equals x squared plus 6x plus 5. And I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3. I plot all these points. Somewhere over here. Fantastic. Now, it says using this graph, determine and state all values for which f of x equals g of x. Where are they equal? Here and here. This is 0, 5. This is for -3. I also know those are the answers because 0, 5 and 4, -3 are both in the table. If you know how to do everything that I just did, you are going to do very well on the test. If you don't know how to do everything right now, well, you have time to study to prepare yourself. Is watch this video alone going to help you? It's not. You need to do the problems. But as you're doing the problems, if you get stuck, you have this here to refer to so you know exactly how to do everything. Study on the tutorials you need to. Ask your friend for help. Do what you need to do. But your test will be approximately, I'm going to write approximately a little disclaimer right here in case we get a snow day or who knows what's going to happen, but approximately March 13th, 2015. That's the plan.
I hope you enjoyed this. I was immortalized in my past 30 minutes and 11 seconds. Everyone will always know in the future what I was doing on March 3rd from about 3:56 to 4:26. Goodbye.